Hey everyone, my name is Matt Halperin. I am the Fox Corporation representative of the Sustainable Production Alliance. Sustainable Production Alliance is an industry collaboration made up of really many of the, or if not all, the major studios and production companies in the United States. And working alongside the PGA Green, we're really dedicated on minimizing the environmental impacts of the film and television industry. And one way in which we're doing that is we've developed an online toolkit called the Green Production Guide, which is really made up a lot of resources and tools that will help productions really, understand the environmental impacts of their production, but also ways in which we could help reduce and minimize such impacts. There are, really three main, tools, let's call it, along with, several other additional supporting resources, but they have a fruit flavored theme name. So we have our peach, which is really a list broken down by department of all the best practices that we've sort of, understood at, coming together as an industry on which each department can do to implement sustainable practices on their sets. So there are a list of best practices broken down by department of just really a checklist of what can be done and associated points with such questions to really highlight the impact of these efforts. In addition to the peach, there is the pear, which is our carbon calculator. So it is made up of spreadsheets to really understand all of the energy inputs that go into a production and figure out what is the carbon footprint of a production, what's the main sources of energy, and then a few other additional environmental metrics, such as the impact of waste and water bottle purchases on a production. But overall, it's really to understand the carbon footprint of a production. And then lastly is our plum, which is a tracking worksheet for lumber. One of the main things that we really wanted to focus on early on in the formation of this Green Production Guide was the use of lumber and trying to transition towards sustainable lumber, either FSC certified or other certification, specifically with Luan or plywood. So that tool just helps track the percentage of sustainable lumber used on a set. They are all accessible for free to download on our greenproductionguide.com website. And with the studios, some are fortunate enough to have, like myself, full-time sustainability representatives who always try to be involved early on in the pre-production process to be able to share these tools with the different departments. But if you're a producer without that internal sustainability support, really just downloading these tools and sharing it with different department heads and really working from the pre-production phase on to figure out what makes sense for each type of production. We certainly know that not every practice is feasible for any production, but it really helps give producers the idea of what is possible and what they should focus on their type of production. Some of the challenges, especially for those without a fully staffed sustainability department from their studio or production company, is really just getting started. There are a lot of great, it's a guide to implement certain practices, but we really try to work on making it easy to actually implement these solutions. So we're creating training and educational tools about how to use each of these guides and tools. We've created one sheets to really help producers visualize what some of these practices might look like in actually implementation of it. I think it's been a great, these set of tools have been great over the last, decade or so of use, but I really think now we're focusing on more of the impact of these efforts. So instead of just a checkbox saying that you did X, Y, or Z, we're really trying to understand the impact of implementing a specific sustainability effort. So developing tools that we could, understand, the financial and environmental impact of implementing a certain effort. Another thing that we're also focusing on as we sort of get, the crew side of it and off camera efforts in place is really focusing on content and how we could, educate and just raise the awareness of our talent, of our directors, of our on-screen talent to, really highlight just normal sustainability practices that could just easily be weaved into, some sort of production. One of our other main efforts of the Green Production Guide and SPA and PGA Green in general is really coming out with regular reports on the status of the environmental impact of our production. So a couple of years ago, we came out with a benchmarking report of the carbon emissions of different types of production, so we could really understand in what geographical area, what's the major source of carbon. Mostly it will be with fuel use, but depending on the type of show where it films, we're really trying to get a better understanding of the source of our impact, so we could really focus and prioritize the what efforts we need to implement to be able to reduce such impact. And another recent one that we've come out with is a survey of the studios, really globally, to understand what's the infrastructure in place at these studios in terms of different sustainability characteristics, to really, kind of raise awareness and send that message that these are the things that we're looking for in a studio, and just to get, the general landscape. So, I think as we move forward, we're going to continue to release these reports that will just build upon the baseline so we could really understand our progress over time. I think that, it really takes an entire industry effort to move towards a more sustainable future. So whether it's a production company, a studio, a vendor, the audience, the film commission, the unions, we all really need to work together on these efforts, and, figuring out how we can leverage each of our different expertise and resources to be able to collaboratively work together to continue pushing the film and television industry towards a more sustainable future. The Sustainable Production Forum is a great platform to be able to bring all these different stakeholders together to push these efforts. So I appreciate you inviting me on this and for organizing this event.